There's a shift happening in the world today. You'll be shocked at how many people are trying to fight. If you don't catch on to what's actually happening, AI is going to put a lot of people out of a job. Already has. Proverbs 4:7. You guys should know it because we say it just about every service. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, with all thy getting. Now, wisdom is the principal thing. If you've ever financed anything, the principal is the amount you financed. That's the basic amount. If you bought a $60,000 car, the principal is 60 grand. That's what you borrowed. Then they add interest and, of course, compounding interest and the time that it takes to pay it off, which may be some type of, 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, whatever, 4 years, 30 years for the mortgage. Both the time and the interest are based on the principal. If the principal changes, the payment changes. Because the principal is the main thing. So when he says wisdom is the principal thing, then how many of us begin to understand that if he gave us a spirit of wisdom and revelation and said, ask that God may open your eyes spiritually, that your eyes may be flooded with understanding, not flooded with your thinking, not flooded with your thoughts, not flooded with your feelings, not flooded with your emotions, but flooded with spiritual insight that comes only from one place, the revelation of wisdom. He said, because wisdom is the principal thing. I have watched so many individuals who have made such bad decisions, and it always comes down to a lack of wisdom. They have all the details. It's never a shortage of information. I very rarely have I ever interjected information that wasn't already there. I just wonder, how did you put these pieces together and not see? I'm thinking to myself, Stevie Wonder with Ray Charles riding co-pilot could see that this is a problem. But why do you not see it? And I've become acutely aware of the spiritual dullness that happens when people are not clear about spiritual things. It almost is an irritation. Have you ever been around someone who you know is not spiritual? And there's almost a rub where you're like, how long are we going to be hanging out? And you start thinking of ways and excuses to not be around certain people because their dullness, it irritates a certain part of you to where you're just like, I cannot believe this is where I'm at. Why do you think that is? See, dullness is not, it's not a personality trait in as much as it's a decision. When he said, pray that the eyes of your understanding be enlightened, you may know. That you may know. Not that you can know, but that you may know. That's right. In other words, you can, but you've never asked God if you may. And so he begins to expound on the discrepancy between what is made available to you and what you've actually asked for. I've watched people serve God and fail over and over and over again because they refuse to submit to the direction that was placed in front of them. And it's basic, but they couldn't do it and lived their entire life out of the will of God, never knowing. And you would think to yourself, this is so egregious, you have to know. And they don't know. They ain't got a clue. They know all the details. of what didn't and did not happen and how this should have been and it didn't and this didn't work out and that didn't. They have all details, all facts. Zero revelation. Why do I get so quiet? And now here David is sitting there asking, he has been living in Lo-debar all this time, running from a throne and an inheritance that belonged. And when he comes back, he says, what is it that you would see in a dead dog like me? Having been living in Lo-debar for so long, having been living in the world for so long, his identity went from royalty to a dog. Because the people around him, those that were responsible for him, those that were in charge of him, those that put things in him, those that had comments about him, those that said things, you're lame in the feet, you're this, you're that, and nobody ever stopped and said, you are the grandson of a king. Living in Lo-debar, hiding. David said, don't be afraid, for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table. Verse 8, Mephibosheth bowed down and said, what is your servant that you should notice a dead dog like me? Then the king summoned Ziba, Saul's steward, and said unto him, I have given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and your servants are to farm the land for him. Because one of y'all took off with him. And you eliminated his ability to farm the land himself. So now y'all are now responsible. Because the evil that you meant for him, God said, I'll turn it around for your good. Now you will serve him and you will bring him food. And every day you will put him at the master's table. Because he's not a dog. He'll now sit at the table like my son. And everything he lost, because he might have been in Lo-debar. He might have been among the world for a while. He might have started thinking like the world for a while. But it took me to bring him back to let him know you might have been in the world, but you are not of the world. I created you to be different. You are special. You are unique. Know what your identity is in Christ. He said, verse 11, Ziba said to the king, your servant will do whatever my lord the king commands his servant to do. So Mephibosheth ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. See, I don't care what you think you are. I don't care how long you've been hiding in Lo-debar. I don't care how much of a struggle you thought you was in. You can't stay in the struggle. I don't care what it's done to you. I don't care how it's handicapped you. I don't care how it's messed you up. I don't care how it affected you when you was 5 years old. I don't care what they did to you when you was 6 years old. I don't care what struggle they put you through when you were 10 years old. I don't care what it was that you went through. You do not stay in Lo-debar. He said, I need you to understand, you will always eat at the king's table. You will always be. Not because of you, but because of your pedigree. Your identity is not in your feelings. It's not in your emotions. And if you don't know who you are, you will live according to what you think. But the moment you have, because David said, listen to what David said. He said, who can I show God's kindness to? And they said, There's one kid. Here's what happened to him. He got maimed. He got hurt. She got accosted. She's been molested. She went through some stuff. She's struggling. She went through relationship after relationship. She went through husband after husband. He went through wife after wife.